The S&P 500 in the stock market took a little bit of a tumble. Now the question of, hey, is this beginning to a crash? Do we just get a buy side to the upside to trap a bunch of people on longs as we move into the end of the year? I'm going to go into my viewpoint and my visual on the market and overall what I'm expecting. I'll tell you right now, I think this is not necessarily a crash yet. I'll tell you what constitutes a crash or what would actually signal me to start really leaning towards the short side of the market. But I will say is you can still make money on both sides of this as you're finding the downside, because I think a lot of those trade setups are really clear right now as far as which stocks are strong, which stocks are weak. Even in yesterday's video, a lot of the setups that I went into in the second half were all primarily to the downside, even though I'm net bullish across the entire market. So it's important to understand what's going on behind the scenes and everything as we're moving forward as well. If you have any questions, comment down below. Let's get to work. Now, before I go too far too, I just want to get all the ad stuff out of the way. If you guys want to see what we're trading, how we're trading, the Discord link's down below. You get futures, you get all of our trade setups, everything in between, trade to Oracle, etc. I don't want to go into all that. You can see the profits, etc. So if you want to see what we're trading every single day, it's there for you. The link is there as well. Do what you got to do. Now, going into the SPY, let's talk about where you're at and what kind of happened here. Now, overall, if you look kind of how today started, as you can see here on Tuesday, you kind of get that gap down, obviously, from yesterday into today, and you find immediate buying pressure trying to fill that gap, right? Now, I will say you moved right back down to previous lows, as you can see right here. Right? So clear as day, clear SR flip here as well. You can also go back, mark out these kind of highs here, move right into there as well. And you can kind of see just how this is kind of flipping there. Worth mentioning, worth talking about, right? Now, as you move into QQQ, which is also very important because we'll go into the discrepancy between ES, NASDAQ, and the Dow. You can see QQQ is filling that first gap right now. Like literally finish the day at that gap close. And again, very important to understand, you saw this gap down here. Now, if you go into SPY, you're going to probably feel that pretty, you can already see you're working down towards the next one. And if you look in futures right now, I would be willing to bet we're going to be close to there unless we find some really late night buying. But you can see ES is already dipping back down and NASDAQ is filling the gap as well. So really important to understand where we're kind of moving, and the discrepancy of SPY and Dow were going today much weaker than the NASDAQ, and tech has definitely been very strong as far as semiconductors, large tech names that just report as far as the Mag 7 is concerned. And then even today, we just had AMD report. So those names obviously were retaining more strength as of where we're at. Now, what would really get me concerned about the market as a whole, I'm going to tell you right now, is getting below your 50-day moving average, specifically on something like SPY or QQQ, okay? And this is the same thing that we were looking at, and I wanted to clarify where things get really weak, get really bad. So this is the same thing we kind of talked about, like going into, the trade deal issues, right? And I also want to make something very clear. Most of your ideology when it comes to trading, in my personal opinion, should stay kind of a constant, meaning what would constitute making, a bearish trend from flipping from a bullish trend, making a lower low, making lower highs, breaking below a significant support such as the 200 daily moving average, the 50-day moving average, which has clearly been a support, especially on the side of futures. You've tested it multiple times here on NASDAQ and ES. So again, I think it's just normal, and this makes logical sense. Now, I'm not saying if you break the 50-day moving average, you're going to collapse down to the 200 immediately, but it puts you in perspective of like, okay, things are shifting. Things that were previously support are no longer support, and maybe we should start targeting some of our bigger levels. And that's ultimately all that you're really doing there, right? So when I look here at QQQ, where things would get concerning for me are two parts as of now. Okay. Now, obviously it's important to realize, although this is a previous high and people are going to be panicked about, okay, we're kind of dipping now, which if you're on smaller time frames, it looks a lot worse. But this high here, and again, it's a very similar chart as SPY, as you can see, but SPYs are already coming into this level almost. Losing these highs that you previously had from the 9th and 10th, which was the day that Trump came out and said, we're going to have, tariffs being thrown on China, and he had his little fiasco and the market, dropped that day. Those highs, I think, was what you want to see hold right now. And it's not necessarily saying that if you lost this, you would be bearish. It's that you would just be back in this little box of where you were trading, which was absolutely awful. Like that was just a really boring few days and just not a lot of action for myself. So that's what you would like that to hold. And ideally, this could even set up a really bullish turnout in my personal opinion. If you look at this, because ultimately what you're doing is, again, you're kind of just making this previous all-time high here. As you can see, we broke out. And if you kind of get that break and retest of that previous all-time high, things will look really, really good. Break, retest, continuation. And I think it's worth mentioning that these are some of the same things that have happened before and what kind of continues to happen. If you can look here, previous all-time high, you break, flip, shoot up. Previous all-time high, you actually lose it, get back above it, make that clean candle here, but as you can see, you push back up, and it goes over and over and over and over. And so again, the break and retest is ultimately one of the most bullish signs, just finding buyers at previous supports where sellers were most active. So again, what I'm looking at on SPY and Q, you can kind of make that out for yourself. The specific level here on QQQ for you would be around 612, and then obviously getting below the 50-day moving average is where things would really get ugly for me, and I would literally start to look for more downside. Even though we're going to the end of the year, which personally I still think you look really good into the end of the year, nothing's really shifted as far as my viewpoint of the market, how strong we look. But yeah, I mean, you're just getting a pullback right now. So again, like you can see on the daily, it's literally like, yeah, you're seeing 4 red candles, but this candle was basically at all-time highs a day ago. So it's just another day, right? Nothing to really, freak out about. So again, as we go forward from this, I'm moving more towards semis as well, which again, this is probably one of the best looking things out there. Again, if you start finding that buying on SMH, around the 346, 347 level, that's what you want to see. The strongest area of the market, which is beginning the most buying, just had earnings, looks really good, right? Now, I will say overnight, this isn't ideal because AMD reported earnings and you're down about $9. Now, I will say it wasn't like a terrible miss or anything along those lines, and they reported $9.25 billion in earnings, which for AMD, that's massive. If you guys are unaware, previously known as Advanced Money Destroyer, they couldn't surpass, it seemed like 7 billion. They had like 1.8 billion beat, and like it just never happened again. But you can see it's just 7, 6, 5. I mean, in the trend, I mean, this is where Nvidia was like before, Chat GPT was big, right? So this is before the AI boom. That's where, AMD's like stuck over here in purgatory, while Nvidia just came out and said, hey guys, by the way, we're going to be doing $600 billion in revenue over the next 6 quarters. So, we're amazing, right? That's basically what Nvidia came out and said. So absolutely insane overall. But AMD, it's finally getting out there. We want to see above 10 billion. It's good to see. And I will say, I don't even think AMD's earnings were that bad. When I'm looking at this, if it was really bad, AMD would be below 227. If AMD loses 227.5, I'd be very bear. I would look for the 50-day moving average quickly, down to 200, maybe 213 is a little bit of a level in here too. I remember trading that with Jordan, but again, what I'd be looking for below 240, you have to start expecting 235, 234, and then ultimately down into 228, 227. So what I'd be watching there. That being said, I still think semis are fine as well. So going back into something like Nvidia, I would love to see the retest of previous highs here, 195.5. And again, this is prior to when Trump made his big comment. You saw the bigger dip. Again, I want to see that retest and the reaction. And another big point I try to make on Twitter is highlighting when I see levels or anything that's pretty big. So again, going earlier into today, as you can scroll all the way back down, it was very important that we mentioned 9 hours ago, looking for the trade deal gap fill from last week, 25.57, buyer's reaction is key. So again, even before, we're moving into the next day, it's about setting up your trade plan to know what kind of, what do you think is going to happen going into it for potential setups, to know where to look for, set your alerts, etc. Not trying to predict the future, but just understanding where trades become a bigger opportunity, but also just, highlighting those as well. So before, we even made tonight's video, before the end of the trading day, we were already like, okay, guys, we're most likely expecting a pullback. You got to see what's coming here. And now that you're getting below that gap fill, again, it's almost a sure shot that we're going to get a retest of that previous all-time high here, 25.4, which, if we find good buyers, I think it's going to be a great opportunity. We're pretty illiquid back into 25.7. That bounce could happen quick. If we get below that, again, we repivot. We aim for some more maybe intraday scalping, not a lot of stuff overnight, looking for more downside pressure, looking for buying opportunities near the 50-day moving average, and then moving into the stocks that we like, semiconductors, tech-heavy names that just reported good earnings. I think Meta is going to be a great opportunity as well. But until then, it's knowing, well, where do you make money in the short term? And in the short term, Meta is one of the names right now that looks really bad. So Meta getting below 638, and you can actually see the battle that we had intraday here. But again, you have no liquidity, and you have that gap fill down into 611, almost down in here into 606 as well. So I expect some support near 620. But honest to God, I don't think Meta is going to have the juice here, and I think it's going to lose. Now, the biggest thing that we were trading here on the day was getting back below 638, and you kind of just held here. As you can see, this was just nasty. The day started when you bounced back into it. You sat there for essentially an hour rejecting, and then you broke below 635, and it was just game on back into, you know, previous the daily lows there. And so we ended the day there. So if we get below like 626, I see us rolling over to 620, and then the reaction there is we could ride down to 610, 612, give or take. So again, one of the top names on the downside. Oracle, I still love Oracle. Again, we took this in Discord, but again, below, again, 248, we're looking for that push down to like 244. Worth mentioning, you have a daily gap fill here as well, going all the way back into September 9th. Never got it back. So again, where we're at, and I actually do think Oracle is going to be one of the better stocks to be buying on the dip for myself. So it's one of those names I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, I want to buy this in the long term. It's where my mind's at. But again, means sitting and making money in the short term for myself. So kind of where my head's at as well there. But again, Oracle, I think honestly has some of the most upside when we're looking at next year, if this whole tech run continues. If it does continue, I think Oracle, especially with the TikTok deal, definitely has to be a name that everyone's watching and interested in. Amazon, again, another big test coming in here at 242.5. Again, that previous all-time high there as well. Want to see the reaction there. Now, the concern here is I think you can make your stops a little wider for a wick potentially, but I would be really careful because obviously straight gap up. This is what OpenAI deals do apparently. And yeah, so I'd be very careful. Maybe widen them into like 241, 240. That's a tough bet, but I like Amazon a lot. If you start finding buyers off this 242.5, I loved their earnings. We've been talking about them. The Lag 7, Amazon's one of the more undervalued Mag 7 names, just now breaking its 2024 highs. Really strong. I would like to see it find buyers there first for me to start getting aggressive. If you open at 246, maybe you just target down. I mean, it's a big target. It seems like a magnet in my opinion. So definitely be watching that. Tesla, not doing too much with it, to be honest here. Coming back down to support like 444, but really your bigger supports here at 439, 440. Under this, it's been a straight shot into 425, 427. I mean, it's been really easy. Your big support, though, is down here at 414, 415, now near your 50-day moving average. Definitely want to see if you come down here, how do we react? Tesla was definitely one of your stronger names and probably one of the biggest surprises for me that was just continuing into all-time highs, really trying to work into 40. I mean, we were literally at 488 like just a few days ago, so really insane, really strong name. Meta is trying to find buying here, or Netflix, I'm sorry. It's not bad. If anyone had bad earnings, if anyone, in my opinion, I think is justified downside on a stock, it was Netflix. Their subscriber count wasn't that impressive. It just wasn't like Netflix has had such good earnings when it comes to streaming, and subscription growth has been so good. Even on the new fee tiers and raising the price of fee tiers, and it just seems like things kind of slowed, or they just weren't as good, which was weird. And then they have obviously all the woke stuff on social media that's like really holding them back as well. As long as this is below the 200 SMA, I don't want to trade the upside. I just don't feel good about it. I do think you could drop down into 1064 here. This is a monster. I mean, previous all-time high, going back into February of this year. I think that's a monster. If you lose that, you have nothing until like 1,000. And I think 1,000 could be a big psych level. I just don't love it here, to be honest. I do love getting into some of these names on bigger dips. Like Meta, I think is going to be a great opportunity. And then they have the stock split. So I think the stock split will stimulate. Like people just like buying Mag 7 names when they stock split. I don't know why that's so cool. You're not really getting anything special. You know what I mean? Like you're getting the stock at the same price. Okay, you can buy fractional shares. So I don't really understand what people are doing. But anyways, kind of my mindset there as well. Palantir, really honestly solid trades. One of the stocks we traded today, or was it yesterday? Maybe it was yesterday. No, it was today. Yeah, it was today. We traded back into 193, 195. So again, main level you're watching here is your previous all-time high, 189.5 here on Palantir. Again, you can see like we're getting great buying pressure off it. You mounted it here, great 5-minute candle to start the day, getting back in straight into 193, 195. Awesome trade. Honestly, you get into 199. It's a gap fill. There's literally nothing there. But again, made lower highs after that, so it didn't love it. But you had a few more opportunities to do the same exact trade. But under 189.5 with selling, this should be pretty clean. If you want, you could wait for the flush below 186 to get more confirmation. But yeah, you have nothing into the 50 MA 176, which 176 has been a magnet for Palantir. If you're not aware, look how long you just pinned to it. I mean, this was a huge level, no liquidity. So below 186, it looks pretty awesome. I mean, you had a little bit of a support resistance here, but I don't think it's gonna be an SR flip, especially if this much weakness is in the market. We'll see. But again, like a big reaction to a 25.4, which you're going to hit 25.4 most likely tonight on an NQ. So yeah. So where I'm at right now, I'm not going to go in too many more, guys. I'm kind of tired, but I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comment down below. Discord link, everything is there as well. Have a good one, traders.